So I haven't made a rant video in a while, and that's because I'm trying to live in a more positive space, and anytime something negative pops into my head, I banish it out into the universe and don't think about it again. But the other day something happened and I thought, you don't deserve to get away with your actions. Before I get into this, I apologise for the ultimately shiny face. It's about 5,000 degrees in here and I can't turn the fan on because you'll hear it buzzing in the background. A few days ago I was being drove somewhere and we parked in a disabled space. I wasn't even out the car for half a second and this woman came up to me and says, you need to be disabled to park there, you need a disability badge. And I was like, what? And she says, you need a blue badge to park there. And I was like, I've got a blue badge, do you want to see it? And she went, oh, and shooed me away like a peasant begging for food at her feet. And I thought, what the fuck is her problem? Like, who does that? So this random woman thought it was okay to aggressively approach me with her boyfriend or her husband and her child and attack me because she didn't think that I looked disabled. And at the time, I thought I handled it really well. But later on I thought, she is so lucky that I'm in the place now that I'm in, because had that been a few months ago, she'd have been getting all the cunts and fucks under the sun. Had it been somebody else in the car that was disabled, that bitch would have ended up with a disability badge. Because you can't just go up to somebody and start shouting at them about a disability badge. You don't know what's wrong with people. What if I had PTSD and her aggression triggered something in me? She doesn't know. For all she knows, I've only got 6 weeks to live and I was out trying to enjoy my day in the sun. Do you know what I mean? People just make assumptions. And I was actually more annoyed at the fact that it could have been somebody else in the car. If I hadn't have been disabled and that was directed at one of my friends or one of my family, she'd have been dead, right? She'd have been in a fucking wheelchair or she'd have been dead. Do not approach people and just make assumptions that there's nothing wrong with them because they look fine at the time. This might come as a shock to some people, but we're not living in the 80s anymore. You can't just make assumptions about people by looking at them. There's people out there who can be up walking about fine one day and then the next day they can't even get out of their bed, they can't feed themselves, they can't go to the toilet, they can't see, they can't speak because they're in so much pain. And this idiot is walking up to me and shouting at me because she doesn't think I look disabled. Now I'm just trying to exist and live a positive life and this woman is coming up and attacking me. Had I had my crystals with me at the time, I could have offered her some, and these absorb negative energy. So the problem with that is it would have absorbed her entire being, turned the energy inside out, turned into a black hole and destroyed the entire world. But do you know what? That's a risk that I'm willing to take. And see, from now on, I'm going to carry these about with me because bitches need to chill the fuck out. And since today is what they're calling it Freedom Day, which is a completely ridiculous name for being able to take your mask off, but that's a completely separate issue altogether. I'm exempt from wearing a mask, and I wore one the first 2 days, but it was causing me really bad dizziness and stuff like that. So I wear my lanyard, and because I wear it everywhere, it was absolutely fucked. So when I had ordered that at first, it just says I have a hidden disability. So recently I went on to get another one, and it was saying things like I have PTSD, I have autism, and all these different things that could be wrong with people. And I was like, why are hidden disabilities allowing this? Like, people don't have to tell anybody what's wrong with them. So I carried on scrolling to see what else they had. And for the life of me, I couldn't find one that says, I have none of your fucking business. It's got nothing to do with you, what's wrong with me. It's got nothing to do with you if somebody's got autism, or if they're partially blind, or if they've got PTSD, or if they've got fucking anything wrong with them. It's none of your business. And at the start of lockdown, when I was in shops or if I was out with my mum and people would say, oh, you don't look disabled, or what's wrong with you? And I'm like, what's wrong with me? What's it to do with you? Do you know what I mean? Maybe I should walk about with the names and numbers of my specialists so that people can phone them up and ask them what's wrong with them myself. Do you want me to walk about and give you my national insurance number, my bank card, my PIN number? Fuck off. Several years ago I had a close family member who was really not well and they hadn't worked for a good few months. And I met one of my friends and they says, oh, such and such back at work. And I says, no, they're still really not well. And they says, oh, I seen them up the street the other day, they looked fine. And I thought, they looked fine. The day before that, the day before that, and the day before that, they couldn't even get up to go to the toilet. They couldn't even feed themselves. They couldn't sleep because they were in so much pain. They couldn't even lie on the couch or on the bed because they were in so much pain they had to actually lie on the floor. Aye, okay, they're fine. They're fine because your eyes say that they look fine. It's absolutely ridiculous. Now, I know that some people walk into shops and they say I'm exempt, and they're not exempt. But do you know what? That's their own free choice to do that. The amount of times that I hear every day, oh, that person doesn't look as if they're exempt, oh, that person, oh, they're saying they're exempt, oh, they must be autistic, oh, they're saying they're exempt, they must have a... Why does it matter? Why does it matter what's wrong with that person? Do you know what I mean? And we're coming up to the end of mask wearing, and I haven't made any videos on it, and I didn't want to go on a rant about it. And I'm still trying not to go on a rant about it now. But all I'm saying is, just because you look at somebody and you don't think that they look disabled, doesn't mean to say that that person isn't disabled. There's days where you can stand up and go to the toilet, or there's days that you can stand up and go down and make yourself something to eat, and then there's weeks that can go past and you physically can't get out of bed, you can't wash, you can't feed yourself, you can't speak, do you know what I mean? It's just ridiculous. There's a lot of people out there that have got disabilities that are neurological, be it that they were born like that or be it that something happened to them. And do you know what? That is still none of your business. What is this woman's problem? Now, as I said, I'm living in a more positive space, right? And for my actions right now, I don't seem as if I'm being positive. But I'm totally being positive. I'm totally being positive about this. Because there was a time when I would have shouted at that woman. I'd have said, what the fuck's it to do with you? I hope you die in a car crash on the way home. What is it to do with you? I hope you're in a car accident on the way home and you lose both your legs and then you end up with a blue badge. But I didn't. I literally just says, I've got one, do you want to see it? Not that it was her right to see it, but I could have done that. I mean, there was a time where I would have had the person who was driving me to follow her home, and then I would have found out where she worked and I'd have got her sacked. That is how crazy I was. But you know what? I literally just says, I've got one, do you want to see it? And I wasn't even really that annoyed about it after it, right? But I was going to make a TikTok video, and as I was thinking about it, it annoyed me more of how that could have affected somebody else. One of the other people in the car could have been the person who was disabled. There was still other people still to get out of the car. For all she knew, the driver was about to go into the boot and pull out a wheelchair. Like, she didn't know. Why was it her business anyway? It wasn't. I understand that we're living in a time where it seems as if everybody's got something wrong with them. Everybody's in a dark place. Everybody's got PTSD. Everybody's got OCD. Everybody's got depression. And it feels like that because we're in communication with more people. Back in the day when you only had communication with your friends and family, maybe people didn't want to talk about it. Maybe people didn't know what they were feeling. And now that these things are online and people talk about it, and others think, do you know what, that's how I've been feeling, or that's what I've wanted to do, or maybe I should go and get help for somebody, and then they try and talk about it. And on my Facebook constantly, you've got people saying, oh, you can always phone me, or you can always show up at my door if you need me, and then 2 seconds later they're talking about, oh, everybody's in a dark place, everybody's depressed. And it's like, well, what do you want? Do you want them to come and talk to you, or do you want to sit and slag them? It's a very confusing time for people out there. If you watch this channel, you'll know that I recently lost 3 stone without doing any exercise. And one of the reasons for that is because I physically couldn't do the exercise. Now, I don't sit here and make videos about all my visits to the hospital, my CT scans, my MRI scans, all my blood work that I get done, because nobody gives a fuck about that. Right? Nobody cares. You might be watching this video and think, I don't care about that. I don't care about your stupid reviews. I don't care about any of your videos. That's fine. Another reason is you're actually not even allowed to make videos in hospitals here. I don't know how other people manage to post videos yet, but it says all over the hospital, no recording. So I don't make any videos about anything like that, and nobody would even be interested anyway. But stop just looking at people and saying, oh, that person looks healthy, because you don't know. You don't know anything about anybody. There's literally hundreds of thousands of people in this world who are walking about who suffer from severe depression, PTSD, autism, all these other things, and they don't even know what's wrong with them. So what makes you qualified to look at somebody and say if they've got something wrong with them or not? You don't know. Even doctors don't know half the time. Stop judging people. Stop attacking people. Do you know what I mean? No wonder everybody in life is walking about miserable, because they're so concerned about what other people are doing. They're so concerned about what's wrong with that person. How can they have a disability badge? Look at the state she's got that wedding dress. Look at the state of her hair. Oh my God, she's got too much makeup on. Fuck up. Right? Take a look in the mirror and concern yourself with yourself. And then see, when you start doing that, you'll find that you're a lot happier on the inside. So I'm just about to go and edit this video. I'm going to make a video for my new channel, and I'm going to let this situation go. In the past, I would have lost sleep over this. I would have sat up at night thinking, I should have said this to that bitch. I should have said that. I should have done that. I hope she's dead. I hope her husband dies. I hope her child dies in front of her eyes. These are the things that used to go through my mind. But now I'm thinking to myself, I hope that that woman finds peace within herself. I hope she finds out what it is that's wrong with her, that's making her so angry in life. I hope her husband gets through each day without either wanting to kill her or himself. And I hope her child doesn't pick up her influence. It's sad to think that that child witnessed its mum approach a complete stranger, discriminate against them, be aggressive towards them, and put her own life at risk. For all she knew, I could have been a fucking psycho. Like, if she had been saying that to me and my mum was sitting in the back and she was disabled, or if it was one of my friends, that would have been it for her. Game over. I wouldn't have cared if her wedding was there, her husband was there. I wouldn't have cared, and that could have been it. You just don't know who you're speaking to. Do you know what I mean? But luckily for her, I've found the light, and I am being a more calm person. So, I was going to say, if that woman is watching this video and you recognise me, but let's be honest, right? Nobody with that arrogance and obnoxiousness is going to watch a video about disability discrimination. But if for whatever reason this video ends up popping up and you do recognise me, I hope that you find happiness in your soul, and I hope that you learn from your mistakes, and I hope that you never end up ill and your close friends and family have to bath you and wash your hair and feed you and take you out in a wheelchair. And I hope that you never end up so sick that you can't move for months on end, and you just pile on weight, and then you get more depressed, and then you get feared to go outside, and then you get paranoid about people looking at you. And I hope that you're healthy and happy. Okay? Goodbye.